Hello everyone. Today we'll study about absorption of digested products. The process through which digested products diffuse into the bloodstream through walls of small intestines and other parts of the alimentary canal is the absorption. Now there are different parts of the alimentary canal which are involved in the absorption of digested products: mouth, stomach, small intestine and large intestine. The maximum absorption occurs in the small intestine. This is the main part of the alimentary canal where absorption of digested products takes place. When we observe the parts of the small intestine, there are three parts: duodenum, which is connected to the stomach, here it is connected, then jejunum, then the ileum. Jejunum is the part of the small intestine where maximum absorption takes place. The millions of microscopic folds or finger-like projections are found in the lumen of the intestine called villi. These are responsible for the absorption of glucose, fructose, amino acids and electrolytes. The villi are mainly responsible for increasing the surface area of the small intestine and absorption of digested food material. Now when we observe the microscopic enlarged view of the villi, we find that there is a single layer of epithelium. There is a single layer, this one, the single layer of epithelium covering the villus. This is the epithelial tissue having brush border. The villi are supplied with network of blood capillaries, network of lymphatic capillaries, and the central vessel of the lymph is called lacteal. This one. Each cell in the epithelium of a villus has brush border, or it is called microvilli. Intestinal mucosa or intestinal layer, inner layer, is very important with regard to the absorption of digested products because they possess villi. They have single layer of epithelium, and the foods that are absorbed through the intestinal mucosa, they are taken by the blood and they reaches different parts of the body with the help of blood flowing into the different parts. On the outer surface of the mucous epithelium are billions of unicellular mucous glands called goblet cell. These goblet cells are called unicellular glands. If a question is asked, name one unicellular glands, so it is a gland made up of single cell. Now coming to the transport mechanism, there are two types, the two mode of transport across the membrane we observe. One is your passive transport, which does not require expenditure of energy; active transport, which requires expenditure of energy. In passive transport, it moves from higher concentration to the lower concentration where there is no expenditure of energy. It is going along, the molecules are moving along the concentration gradient from higher concentration to the lower concentration. While in case of passive transport, in case of active transport, it is against the concentration gradient and it requires expenditure of energy. Now when we see the types of passive transport, it is simple diffusion, facilitated transport, osmosis, and these three processes of passive transport helps in the absorption of different digested substances. Simple diffusion takes place from higher concentration to lower concentration. The molecules which are in higher concentration outside the membrane of the cell diffuse into the cell where there is low concentration of the molecule, which does not require any energy. In case of facilitated diffusion or facilitated transport, it is also along the concentration gradient from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, but with the help of a carrier protein. So this is a carrier protein. This is the carrier protein. Carrier protein, and with the help of this, molecule can pass from one side of the membrane to the other side, and thus the substance is absorbed. In case of active transport, it is against concentration gradient from lower concentration to higher concentration, and it occurs at the expense of energy. It requires expenditure of energy. Some molecules like sodium, glucose, galactose, and amino acids are absorbed by active transport. Unlike carbohydrates and proteins, fats are not absorbed by intestinal villi. Fatty acids and glycerol, which are the digestive product of the lipids or fats, are insoluble in water and therefore cannot be absorbed by intestine directly. For this reason, for the digestion of lipid, the bile salts are produced. Bile salts are produced by the liver, which causes emulsification, breaking down of large insoluble lipid drop into small droplet by the process of emulsification, and it forms micelles. After hydrolysis of triglyceride, the bile, monosaccharide, and fatty acid together they produce a complex called micelle. Now this micelle can easily pass through intestinal mucosa. After the micelles enter the intestinal mucosa, they are coated with some protein and form small globules, and they are called chylomicron. Chylomicrons are transported into lacteals, that is the lymph vessel, and these lymph vessels ultimately release absorbed substances into the blood stream and then reaches to different parts of the body. Now we see there are different parts of the alimentary canal which are involved in the absorption of digested substances or digested products are mouth, stomach, small intestine, and large intestine. So when summarizing and again absorbing the substances which are absorbed by these different parts of the alimentary canal are, from the mouth we can see certain drugs placed under the tongue are directly absorbed into the blood capillaries through oral mucosa. The stomach wall also directly absorb certain substances like simple sugars and alcohol. Large intestine absorb water, some minerals like potassium and sodium, and certain drugs also. Thus, the summary you can see, mouth is responsible for absorbing certain drugs, the stomach for absorbing water and simple sugars, some drugs and alcohol, small intestine for absorbing all nutrients including minerals, vitamins. The duodenum part of the small intestine is responsible for absorbing iron and calcium, and the large intestine, water, it absorbs water, some minerals and drugs. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed learning this topic.